Just a show of hands. How many of you here are hooked up presently to Wi-Fi? One. Okay. Two, three. Okay. Actually, the correct answer is you're all hooked up to Wi-Fi. We all have a interconnection, a wireless, shall we say, a neural Wi-Fi. We have a cerebral connection that was set up and actually discovered by the Italians back in 1992, which is about the same time that we discovered the actual Wi-Fi that you're all considering here electronically. But the Wi-Fi that we interact with each other on a daily basis is brain-to-brain communication that was stumbled upon by the Italians in 1992. Actually, quite an interesting story, probably one of the only interesting stories that I'll tell you here today, but it had to do with, by mistake, they were studying in monkeys exactly what parts of the brains were responsible for what action. For instance, they put these laser-thin electrodes in single neurons of the brains of the monkeys, and as each part of the brain would fire off on a functional MRI machine, they'd record what area of that brain was responsible for what action. For instance, if the monkey unpeeled the banana and that part of the brain lit up in the functional MRI machine, they would record and say, aha, that's the part of the brain where that is responsible for that action. And if the monkey ate the banana, then again another part of the brain would light up. Well, unfortunately, the fellow, an Italian researcher, was late coming back from lunch, and he was eating an ice cream cone. I guess being in Italy, it was probably a gelato, to come to think of it, but it was a pistachio, probably. They like the pistachio gelato. But he was licking his gelato ice cream, and the monkey was watching him do this. And there was a portion of the brain that lit up in this MRI machine that had never lit up before, and so they recorded it and thought it was probably an accident. But not by accident, this researcher was late day after day, and he often would come back eating this gelato. And every time, that same portion of the brain lit up in the monkey. And they thought, well, you know what? This is interesting because this part of the brain is actually just watching an action that this fellow is doing. And that's when they realized that perhaps there was some sort of communication, shall we say, monkey see, monkey do. And that would explain why that part of the brain was lighting up in response to more of an action. For instance, this would explain why when you smell some fragrant aroma of, say, a flower, and then you read the name of that flower, it'll remind you exactly what that smell was like, and in fact, that portion of the brain that's responsible for fragrance will light up as well. So we can tell that we can interconnect with each other simply by talking to each other. We can share emotions. So non-verbal communication can be explained by this neural Wi-Fi. So much so that they coined this cluster of brain cells called mirror neurons. And it's these mirror neurons that are responsible for communication through our neural Wi-Fi system and how we can affect each other through our actions, our emotions. And this is a very strong way to communicate with each other